Tonight, we embark on a journey through one of the most primal and terrifying aspects of the Elder Scrolls universe, the Curse of Lycanthropy, also known as Hircine's gift to those who embrace it, and Hircine's curse to those who despair under its weight. Over the next hour or more, we'll trace the bloody history of this affliction from its mysterious origins in the Merethic era to the modern struggles of the Companions in 4th era, Skyrim. We'll explore the twisted relationship between mortal hunters and their Daedric patron, uncover the secrets of the first werewolves, walk alongside legendary beast-touched warriors, and ultimately discover the terrible price that must be paid to break free from the hunter's grasp. So settle in, prepare yourself for tales of savage hunts and impossible choices, and let's begin this descent into the realm of the father of man-beasts. Chapter 1. The Birth of the Beast, Hircine's Ancient Design. In the beginning, before the First Era dawned and before mortals learned to commit their histories to written word, there existed only legend and myth. The early Merethic era was a time when the boundaries between the mortal world of Nirn and the realms of Oblivion remained thin, when Daedric princes walked among mortals with greater frequency, and when the laws governing reality itself had not yet hardened into their current form. It was during this primordial age that Hircine, the Daedric Prince of the Hunt, first conceived of his most enduring and controversial creation, Lycanthropy. The exact circumstances surrounding the birth of Lycanthropy remain shrouded in mystery, lost to the ages before Ysgramma brought the written word to humankind. Sage Svari of Fallowstone Hall, one of the foremost scholars on werewolf lore, has spent years researching the subject, yet even she admits that no definitive account exists. What we do know comes from fragments of oral traditions that survived through the ages, later recorded by scribes and scholars who heard these tales from the descendants of those ancient peoples. According to these stories, Hircine did not simply curse mortals with lycanthropy on a whim. Rather, he meddled with the very nature of wolves themselves, making them susceptible to shapeshifting in ways that defied the natural order. This modification to the essential nature of wolves had far-reaching consequences. The change that Hircine wrought created not only the first werewolves, but also contributed to the existence of the wild hunt wolves seen in Valenwood. These creatures, wolves that had become unraveled because they forgot their Yffretort forms, represent another branch of Hircine's interference with the natural world. The connection between werewolves and these wild hunt wolves suggests that Hircine's curse operates on a level deeper than mere physical transformation. It touches upon the very concept of form and identity, allowing beings to slip between states of existence that should remain separate. The oldest stories about werewolves come from the Khajiit and Bosma peoples of southwestern Tamriel, suggesting that this region may have been ground zero for Hircine's experiment. The warm forests and savannas of Elsfire and Valenwood provided perfect hunting grounds, and it's here that the curse first took root among mortal populations. The Khajiit, already possessing a fluid relationship with their physical forms due to the influence of the lunar lattice, may have proven particularly susceptible to Hircine's transformative magic. The Bosma, bound by the Green Pact and their worship of Y'ffre, would have found lycanthropy both fascinating and horrifying, a violation of their most sacred principles of maintaining proper form. To understand why Hircine created lycanthropy, we must understand the Daedric Prince himself. Known by many titles including the Huntsman of the Princes, the Father of Man-Beasts, and among the Khajiit as the Hungry Cat, Hircine embodies the primal essence of the hunt in all its forms. He represents not merely the act of tracking and killing prey, but the entire philosophy of predator and prey, the chase, the sacrifice, and the glory of the hunt itself. Unlike many of his fellow Daedric princes, Hircine does not seek to dominate mortals or bend them to his will through deception or cruelty. Instead, he offers them transformation, a chance to become the ultimate expression of predatory nature. Hircine created lycanthropy as a gift, not a punishment. Though countless victims of the curse would disagree with this assessment. From his perspective, he was elevating mortals, granting them the ability to become apex predators who could hunt with supernatural strength, speed, and ferocity. He was creating the perfect hunters, beings who could exist as both rational mortals and savage beasts, combining the strategic thinking of intelligent races with the raw power of nature's most efficient killers. In Hircine's worldview, what could be more glorious than this fusion of mortal cunning and bestial might? The very first werewolves, those who received the curse directly from Hircine's hand, are known as the First Turned. These select few individuals were not random victims of a disease, but chosen champions whom Hircine personally blessed with his gift. Among these First Turned, one name stands above all others: Vycosa the Ascendant. A Khajiit huntress of extraordinary skill and ambition, Vycosa lived during the early Merethic era, making her potentially thousands of years old by the Second Era, when she finally met her end. Vycosa's story begins as a young hunter who loved the thrill of tracking and bringing down prey more than anything else in life. She found no greater satisfaction than the moment when a successful hunt concluded, when skill and patience culminated in triumph. It was this passion for the hunt that drew Hircine's attention to her. The Daedric Prince, who the Khajiit know as the Hungry Cat, appeared before young Vycosa and made her an offer. Glory and power beyond imagining. In her youth and naivety, she eagerly accepted, beginning to worship Hircine and performing rituals in his honor. But Hircine's gift came with a terrible twist, a cruel test that would shape Vycosa's entire existence. The curse he placed upon her did not immediately transform her into a mighty predator. Instead, it turned her into prey. Vycosa became a hare, small and vulnerable, condemned to be hunted endlessly by predators far stronger than herself. This was Hircine's way of teaching her the full nature of the hunt, of showing her that true understanding of his sphere required experiencing both sides of the eternal chase. For an unknown period, Vycosa lived in terror, constantly fleeing from those who would kill her, experiencing firsthand the fear and desperation that all prey feels. Only after enduring this trial did Vycosa cease being the hare and begin her transformation into something far more powerful. She became a werewolf lord, a being that retained a humanoid form even in beast state, blending her Khajiit features with those of a wolf. Unlike common werewolves who become purely bestial in their transformed state, werewolf lords maintain enough of their original racial characteristics to remain recognizable. An Argonian werewolf lord would still appear reptilian, a Khajiit would retain feline features, all overlaid with lupine qualities that marked them as creatures of Hircine. As a werewolf lord and one of the First Turned, Vycosa possessed abilities that far exceeded those of ordinary lycanthropes. She could bend the will of other werewolves, forcing them to obey her commands even if they initially resisted. This power allowed her to build the Moonhunter Pack during the Second Era, one of the largest werewolf groups ever assembled. By 282 years into the Second Era, Vycosa had taken over Moonhunter Keep in Reaper's March, a fortress that once belonged to the Order of the Silver Dawn, werewolf hunters dedicated to destroying her kind. The symbolism of a werewolf conquering and claiming a werewolf hunter stronghold sent a powerful message. The hunted had become the hunters. From Moonhunter Keep, Vycosa plotted nothing less than the conquest of all Tamriel. She envisioned a world where werewolves ruled, where the curse spread to every corner of the continent, and where Hircine's children held dominion over the lesser races. Her pack grew through both willing recruitment and forced conversion. Many werewolves, hearing tales of how Vycosa and her pack had defeated the Silver Dawn, flocked to her banner seeking safety in numbers. Others she enslaved through her powers, bending their wills and forcing them into her service whether they wished it or not. Vycosa's experiments pushed the boundaries of what lycanthropy could achieve. She captured the Silver Dawn's resident werewolf expert and forced him to research ways to enhance and alter werewolves. Through inhumane experiments, she developed the process to create werewolf behemoths, hulking monstrosities that grew far larger and stronger than normal werewolves. These behemoths, if they survived the transformation process, became nearly unstoppable warriors. The fact that Vycosa could artificially create what Hircine himself only granted to his most esteemed hunters demonstrated her deep understanding of the curse and her willingness to violate its natural limitations. But for all her power and ambition, Vycosa ultimately fell victim to the same forces that her kind had long feared: determined hunters willing to risk everything to stop a monster. In the year 582 of the Second Era, members of the Undaunted, a group of adventurers renowned for taking on the most dangerous challenges, stormed Moonhunter Keep. They fought through Vycosa's pack, destroyed her enhanced behemoths, and ultimately slew the ancient werewolf lord herself. Her severed head was kept as a trophy, a grim reminder of what happens when the cursed grow too ambitious. Yet Vycosa represented only one branch of the first-turned lineage. Other individuals blessed directly by Hircine spread across Tamriel, each passing their gift to their chosen successors. These chosen ones would in turn select others, creating bloodlines of lycanthropy that grew more numerous with each generation. Some werewolves received the curse through these deliberate transmissions, drinking the blood of their predecessors in sacred rituals. Others contracted it through combat, infected by the bite or scratch of a raging beast. Still others were specifically blessed by Hircine himself, devotees and great hunters who proved their worth and received lycanthropy as a divine reward. The spread of lycanthropy across Tamriel followed trade routes, migration patterns, and the movements of armies. Wherever werewolves went, the potential for new infections went with them. The disease proved remarkably adaptable, capable of afflicting members of any race under the right circumstances. Nord warriors, Dunmer assassins, Khajiit wanderers, Imperial soldiers, Breton scholars, all could fall victim to the curse or accept it as a gift, depending on their perspective. This universality meant that no culture remained untouched by the existence of werewolves. Every race developed their own stories, their own methods of fighting or embracing the beast within, their own explanations for why this curse existed and what it meant. Number Chapter 2: The Many Forms of the Beast. Understanding Lycanthropy. While werewolves represent the most common and well-known form of lycanthropy, they are far from the only manifestation of Hircine's curse. The Daedric Prince has created numerous strains of Lycanthropy, each one adapted to specific regions of Tamriel and designed to create apex predators suited to their environments. Understanding the full scope of these variations reveals the depth of Hircine's influence and the terrible variety of forms his children can take. The disease itself operates in a manner unlike typical illnesses. Lycanthropy seeps into the spirit, fundamentally altering not just the physical body, but the very essence of the afflicted individual. This spiritual component explains why the curse persists even after death, why the souls of werewolves are claimed by Hircine rather than going to their traditional afterlives, and why curing lycanthropy requires more than medical treatment. You cannot simply remove the disease through conventional healing. You must exorcise it from the soul itself, a process that requires powerful magic and considerable sacrifice. The contagious nature of lycanthropy has been documented across multiple eras and in various forms. In some cases, such as in Daggerfall during the Third Era, a successful attack by a werewolf carried approximately a 0.6% chance of transmitting the disease to the victim. This relatively low transmission rate meant that lycanthropy spread slowly through random encounters, requiring multiple werewolf attacks across a population before infections became common. In other times and places, the transmission rate has varied, sometimes being deliberately increased by powerful werewolves seeking to create new members for their packs. The most reliable method of transmission involves the direct consumption of blood from an infected individual. Drinking the blood of a werewolf, particularly in a ritual context where the recipient willingly accepts the curse, almost guarantees transmission. This is how the Companion Circle operates, with new members drinking from Ayla the Huntress in a ceremony conducted beneath the Skyforge in Whiterun. The voluntary nature of this transmission distinguishes it from accidental infection through combat. Those who choose to accept lycanthropy through blood ritual often adapt to their new nature more successfully than those who contract it through a random attack. Once infected, the disease follows a predictable incubation period, though this can vary somewhat depending on the strain and the individual's resistance. In Daggerfall, victims had 3 days after infection to seek a cure before the transformation became permanent. During Morrowind's Blood Moon events, a similar timeframe applied, giving infected individuals a narrow window to act if they wish to avoid their fate. After this incubation period expires, the curse takes full hold, and the afflicted gains the ability to transform at will, assuming they can maintain control over when and how they change. The transformation itself is one of the most dramatic aspects of lycanthropy. The process takes mere moments, but involves a complete restructuring of the body. Bones elongate and reform. Muscles swell with unnatural strength. Fur sprouts across the skin, and the face stretches into a bestial muzzle filled with razor-sharp fangs. The hands become clawed weapons capable of tearing through flesh and armor alike. The senses heighten dramatically, granting superior hearing, smell, and night vision that allows the werewolf to hunt effectively even in complete darkness. Most significantly, the mind changes, becoming more primal and aggressive, driven by hunting instincts that can sometimes overwhelm rational thought. In their transformed state, werewolves become formidable combatants. They gain tremendous physical strength, easily overpowering normal humans in direct confrontation. Their speed increases dramatically, allowing them to run down fleeing prey or close distance with enemies before they can react. The natural weapons of their claws and teeth prove devastatingly effective, capable of inflicting terrible wounds with each strike. Their enhanced durability allows them to shrug off injuries that would cripple or kill a normal person. Some werewolves even develop the ability to howl, releasing a terrifying sound that can send weaker foes fleeing in panic. The duration of the transformation varies depending on several factors. In Skyrim, during the 4th era, a werewolf typically remains in beast form for approximately 2.5 minutes before reverting to human shape. However, this duration can be extended by feeding on corpses, with each consumed heart adding additional time. This mechanic reflects the insatiable hunger that drives werewolves, the need to hunt and kill and feast that defines much of their existence in beast form. The more they indulge their predatory nature, the longer they can remain transformed, creating a cycle where successful hunts enable longer periods of transformation. While werewolves are the most widespread form of lycanthropy, other variants exist throughout Tamriel, each adapted to different environments and prey. Werebears prowl the northern tundras of Skyrim and Solstheim, particularly common on the frozen island, where they have become the dominant therianthropic predator by the 4th era. These massive creatures combine Hircine power with humanoid intelligence, making them even more dangerous than regular werewolves in some circumstances. Legend holds that smearing canis root on trees surrounding one's home will ward off werebears, though the effectiveness of this folk remedy remains questionable. Wereboars have been documented in various regions, their tusked forms combining the aggressive temperament of wild boars with supernatural strength. In Daggerfall, a quest involved hunting down a wereboar who had grown miserable under the curse, begging for death as release from their tortured existence. This particular case illustrated how some individuals view lycanthropy not as Hircine's gift, but as an unbearable affliction that strips away their humanity and condemns them to a life they never wanted. Werelians stalk the warmer regions of Tamriel, particularly in areas where lions naturally dwell. Their leonine features combined with humanoid form create creatures of terrible beauty and savage power. Werevultures, uniquely resistant to poisons unlike their lupine cousins, circle over Hammerfell and other arid regions. Were-crocodiles lurk in the swamps and waterways, ambush predators that combine reptilian patience with supernatural cunning. Even were-sharks have been mentioned in various texts, though encounters with these aquatic horrors remain mercifully rare. During a famous competition between Hircine and Sheogorath documented in the 16 Accords of Madness, Hircine created an even more exotic form, a Wyrd Daedroth, imbuing a Daedric creature with lycanthropy to prove his power could extend even to immortal beings. This demonstrates that Hircine's curse is not limited to mortal races, but can theoretically affect any creature he chooses. The scope of his power in this regard appears nearly limitless, constrained only by his interest in creating the perfect hunters for each environment. All these varied forms of lycanthropy share certain common characteristics that identify them as Hircine's children. They gain immunity to all diseases, their supernatural constitution proving too robust for normal illnesses to take hold. This immunity extends even to vampirism, preventing werewolves from becoming undead unless they are first cured of their lycanthropy. They develop severe weaknesses to specific substances and materials. Silver weapons prove far more effective against them than normal steel, burning their flesh with unnatural agony. Certain herbs become poisonous or repellent to them. Wolfsbane and belladonna are particularly effective against werewolves, with the juice of ripened belladonna berries causing their veins to shrivel and wolfsbane petals rendering their bones brittle. Perhaps most significantly, all lycanthropes share a common spiritual destiny. When they die, their souls do not travel to the afterlives promised by their mortal faiths. Instead, they are claimed by Hircine and transported to his realm of oblivion, the hunting grounds. There they will hunt for eternity in service to the father of man-beasts, forever running beneath strange skies in pursuit of prey that can never be exhausted. For some werewolves, particularly those who embrace the curse and worship Hircine, this eternal hunt represents paradise. For others, especially those who valued their mortal faith traditions and hoped for different afterlives, this spiritual hijacking represents the curse's most terrible aspect, a theft not just of their mortal lives, but of their very souls. Number, Chapter 3, The Blood Moon Prophecy, Hircine's Hunt in Morrowind. The island of Solstheim, that frozen land caught between Skyrim and Morrowind, has served as the stage for some of the most dramatic manifestations of Hircine's influence in recorded history. The native Skull tribe, a group of Nords who maintained their ancient traditions isolated from the mainland, preserved prophecies speaking of cyclical events that would herald Hircine's direct intervention in mortal affairs. These predictions, known collectively as the Blood Moon Prophecy, foretold a time occurring once each era when the hunter himself would walk among mortals, selecting champions for his great hunt. The prophecy describes 4 distinct signs that precede the hunt's beginning. The first sign is known as the Hounds, when werewolves appear on the island in unprecedented numbers, attacking settlements and spreading terror among the population. These lycanthropes serve as Hircine's advance force, testing the mettle of Solstheim's inhabitants and marking those who might prove worthy as participants in the coming hunt. The Skull learned to recognize this sudden werewolf influx as a harbinger of far greater dangers approaching. The second sign, called the Fire from the Eye of Glass, manifests as a pillar of flame erupting from the surface of the frozen Lake Fjölding. This unnatural phenomenon, fire rising from ice without melting it, represents Hircine's power bleeding through into the mortal world. The locals might attempt to explain it away as magic from a Drauglord or some other mundane cause, but those familiar with the prophecy recognize it for what it truly is, evidence that the barriers between Nirn and Oblivion are weakening in preparation for the hunt. The third sign is known as the Tide of Woe, a mass death of hawkers whose corpses wash up along Solstheim's northern shores. These deaths occur for no apparent reason, with dozens or even hundreds of these massive seal-like creatures found dead along the beaches. The inexplicable nature of this die-off, animals killed by forces beyond mortal understanding, serves as another warning that Hircine's attention has turned toward the island. The final and most dramatic sign gives the prophecy its name, the Blood Moon itself. Secunda, the smaller of Nirn's 2 moons, turns crimson red, colored by what the Skull believe is the blood of the hunter's prey. When this blood-red moon rises over Solstheim, the prophecy has reached its culmination. and the Great Hunt is about to begin. This phenomenon is not limited to Solstheim. The blood moon can appear anywhere in Tamriel where Hircine has designated a hunt, though Solstheim has experienced it more frequently than most locations due to its isolation and the strength of the Skull's connection to these events. Following the appearance of all 4 signs, the Hunter's Game begins. This is the Skull's name for Hircine's Great Hunt, an event that varies from era to era depending on the Daedric Prince's whims. Sometimes the hunt targets an entire tribe, forcing all its members to participate as either predators or prey. Other times it focuses on a handful of individuals whom Hircine has identified as worthy adversaries. The nature of the challenge changes, but the purpose remains constant: to provide Hircine with entertainment and to test the skills of mortals against challenges that would break lesser beings. In the year 427 of the Third Era, the Blood Moon prophecy came to pass once more. The Nerevarine, that legendary figure who fulfilled the prophecies of the Dunmer and stopped Dagoth-Ur's threat to Morrowind, found themselves drawn into events on Solstheim. What began as assistance to the East Empire Company's attempts to establish a mining colony on the island's southern shore gradually revealed itself as something far more sinister. Werewolf attacks increased in frequency and ferocity. Strange occurrences plagued the settlements. The signs of the prophecy manifested one by one, though those unfamiliar with Skull traditions might not immediately recognize their significance. The Nerevarine traveled north to the Skull village seeking answers and aid. The Skull, recognizing that the Blood Moon prophecy was unfolding, performed rituals to test this outsider and determine if they could be trusted. The spiritual leader, Corst Windeye, explained the prophecy's details, describing the Hunter's Game and the danger it represented. The Skull believed that understanding their traditions and earning their trust would be crucial to surviving what was coming. The prophecy reached its climax when several key figures began disappearing from the island. Captain Falx Carius, the leader of the Imperial garrison at Fort Frostmoth, vanished first. Then Tharstan Heartfang, the chieftain of the Skull and a warrior of tremendous skill, was taken by werewolves during an attack on the village. Finally, Karstag, a frost giant of immense power who ruled from a castle of ice in northern Solstheim, also disappeared. These 3 champions, each representing different forms of strength and leadership, had been selected by Hircine as participants in his hunt. The Nerevarine found themselves infected with Sanis lupinus, the disease that causes werewolf transformation during the defense of the Skull village. This presented them with a choice that would define their role in the coming events. They could either seek a cure immediately, remaining human and opposing Hircine's plans, or they could embrace the curse and serve the Daedric Prince as one of his hounds. Both paths led to the same destination, but the journey and the Nerevarines' relationship to the other participants differed dramatically depending on which choice they made. Eventually, the Nerevarine was summoned to the Great Hunt regardless of their decisions. Werewolves surrounded them as they slept, and they awakened in the presence of Hircine himself within Mortrag Glacier. The Daedric Prince explained the rules. 4 champions, the Nerevarine, Carius, Heartfang, and Karstag, would navigate a maze filled with dangers. Only one would survive to earn the honor of facing Hircine in single combat. The others would fall along the way, victims of the maze's perils or each other. The hunt had begun, and there would be no escape except through victory or death. The maze within Mortrag Glacier tested every skill the participants possessed. Werewolves prowled the passages, attacking any who entered their territory. Traps and obstacles blocked the path. The other champions, driven by the need to survive, might turn hostile if encountered. Carius, the disciplined Imperial soldier, brought military tactics and iron determination. Heartfang, the Skull chieftain, possessed intimate knowledge of Solstheim's dangers and Hircine's nature. Karstag, the frost giant, relied on raw power that could smash through most obstacles. Each champion represented a different approach to the challenge, and each believed they would be the one to reach Hircine and claim victory. The Nerevarine, being the protagonist of these events, naturally proved themselves superior to the other champions. They navigated the maze's dangers, overcame or avoided the werewolves, and ultimately reached the huntsman's hall where Hircine waited. The Daedric Prince greeted his victor with approval, noting that he had expected Karstag to prevail given the giant's tremendous strength, but acknowledging that the Nerevarine had proven themselves the superior hunter. Then came Hircine's final challenge. He asked the Nerevarine a philosophical question. What makes a hunter truly great? Is it strength, the raw physical power to overcome any prey? Is it speed, the ability to run down victims before they can escape? Or is it guile, the cunning to outwit and outmaneuver opponents? The Neravarine's answer determined which aspect of Hircine they would face in combat, for the Daedric Prince deemed it unsporting to fight at his full power against a mortal. The three aspects of Hircine each presented unique challenges. The aspect of strength, known in ancient texts as Hrokibeg and associated with bears, represented overwhelming physical might that could crush opponents through sheer force. The aspect of speed, called Storybeg in legend, embodied the ability to strike before enemies could react, moving with supernatural quickness that made defense almost impossible. The aspect of guile, named Alrabeg, proved the most elusive and resistant, jumping out of range when struck and using paralysis and burden effects through his hunter's venom to disable opponents. Defeating the chosen aspect required skill, preparation, and determination. The battle tested everything the Nerevarine had learned throughout their journey, forcing them to utilize all their abilities to overcome a foe that represented a fundamental truth about the nature of hunting. Whichever aspect they faced, victory came at a price, for defeating even one fragment of Hircine's power required the combatant to push themselves to their absolute limits. Upon the aspect's defeat, Hircine acknowledged his loss with good grace. The Daedric Prince, true to his nature as a sportsman, accepted that the prey had bested him this time. He declared that the blood moon would set and the hunt would end, but promised that he would return. The prophecy would come to pass again in another era, and Hircine would once more walk among mortals seeking worthy adversaries. For now, however, Solstheim could rest. The immediate danger passed. The Neravarine's victory had consequences beyond just stopping the hunt. If they had accepted lycanthropy and wished to be rid of it, they could seek out a cure from the Glenmoril Witches who had set up camp on the island. The process involved sacrifice and difficult choices, but freedom from the curse was possible for those determined enough to pursue it. Alternatively, they could choose to keep their lycanthropy, embracing Hircine's gift and living as a werewolf for the remainder of their days. The choice, as always, belonged to the individual. Number Chapter 4, The Companion's Burden, Skyrim's Werewolf Legacy. In the heart of Whiterun, beneath the shadow of the cloud-piercing peak called the Throat of the World, stands Jorrvaskr, a mead hall of ancient legend. This upturned boat of a building serves as the home and headquarters of the Companions, an order of warriors that traces its lineage back to Ysgramor himself, the legendary hero who led humanity's return to Tamriel from the frozen continent of Atmora. For thousands of years, the Companions have represented honor, glory, and martial excellence. They have stayed out of politics, accepting contracts to solve problems for anyone who can pay their fees, and maintain traditions dating back to the Merethic era. But beneath this proud heritage lies a secret that has defined their inner circle for generations. The upper ranks of the Companions are werewolves. This was not always the case. For most of their history, the Companions remained free from Hircine's curse, their strength coming from skill, training, and the bonds of brotherhood and sisterhood that united them. The change came during the late Second Era, after Harbinger, Kirnil Longnose, established a secret inner group known as the Circle. This elite core within the Companions would lead the organization, making critical decisions and preserving the most important traditions. It was meant to strengthen the Companions, ensuring continuity of leadership and purpose. But ambition and the desire for power can corrupt even the best intentions. Harbinger Turfig, who led the Companions at some point after the Circle's formation, made a decision that would haunt the organization for centuries. Seeking greater power for the Companions, hoping to make them even more formidable warriors, Terfig entered into negotiations with the Glenmoril Coven, a group of witches who worshipped Hircine and possessed deep knowledge of his curse. The terms seemed straightforward. If the Companions would hunt in Hircine's name, they would be granted great power to aid in their work. The bargain was struck, and the Circle participated in a ritual that transformed them into werewolves. The power came immediately, flooding through their bodies and giving them strength far beyond what normal humans could achieve. In their beast forms, Circle members became nearly unstoppable warriors, capable of tearing through enemies that would have challenged them before. The enhancement seemed like everything Terfig had hoped for, a way to ensure the Companions remained the preeminent warriors in Skyrim. But there was deception in the deal. The witches had led Terfig to believe that the lycanthropy would not be permanent, that it could be set aside when no longer needed. This proved to be a lie. The curse became a permanent part of every Circle member's nature, passed down through blood rituals when new warriors were initiated into the inner circle. Each generation inherited the beast blood from those who came before, creating an unbroken chain of lycanthropic warriors stretching across the centuries. For many Circle members, the curse became something they learned to accept or even embrace. The power was undeniable, the thrill of transformation and the hunt intoxicating. Aela the Huntress, descendant of a long line of companion women stretching back to Hroti Blackblade, considered lycanthropy a blessing rather than a curse. She took pride in her beast blood, viewing it as part of what made the Circle special and superior. Skjor, another Circle member, shared this enthusiasm, actively recruiting new initiates and performing the blood ritual that spread the curse to the next generation of warriors. But not everyone viewed the beast blood so positively. By the Fourth Era, over 200 years into the age, Harbinger Kodlak Whitemane had come to see lycanthropy as a terrible burden rather than a gift. Kodlak was a warrior of great skill and a philosopher who thought deeply about the meaning of honor and the path a true warrior should follow. He began to understand the spiritual implications of the curse, particularly what it meant for life after death. Like all Nords, Kodlak had been raised with stories of Sovngarde, the glorious afterlife, where honored dead feast with heroes of legend in the Hall of Valor. To reach Sovngarde represented the highest aspiration for a Nord warrior, proof that one had lived with honor and died with glory. But werewolves cannot enter Sovngarde. When they die, their souls are claimed by Hircine and taken to the hunting grounds, where they hunt for eternity in service to the Daedric Prince. For Kodlak, this represented a terrible injustice. He had not chosen to become a werewolf. He had been infected with the beast blood as part of his initiation into the Circle, accepting what he thought was a price of leadership. Now he understood that this decision made centuries before his birth had stolen his chance at the afterlife his culture promised him. Kodlak began searching for a cure, researching lycanthropy and ways to break free from Hircine's claim. He discovered that the Glenmoril Witches, the same coven that had cursed the Circle, possessed the knowledge to cure the affliction. The process required their deaths and the use of their heads in a ritual that could separate the wolf spirit from the infected soul. It was a grim necessity, but Kodlak saw no other path to reclaiming his spiritual freedom. Into this situation came the last Dragonborn, the prophesied hero who would stop Alduin the World Eater. The Dragonborn first encountered the Companions while approaching Whiterun, witnessing Aela the Huntress, Farkas, and a new recruit named Rhea fighting a giant near Pelagia Farm. Impressed by their skill, or simply curious about these warriors, the Dragonborn sought out Jorrvaskr and requested to join their ranks. Kodlak Whitemane, having that sense for people that comes with age and wisdom, saw something special in this newcomer. Despite Vilkas's initial skepticism, Kodlak approved the Dragonborn's membership and set them on the path to becoming a full companion. The Dragonborn proved themselves through a series of tasks, demonstrating their combat skills and willingness to uphold the Companions' values. They completed quests assigned by various members, earning respect and building relationships with their new brothers and sisters in arms. Eventually, the time came for the Dragonborn to learn the Circle's secret. Skjor arranged a meeting at night, leading the initiate to a hidden chamber beneath the Skyforge called the Underforge. Here, away from prying eyes, the Circle conducted their most sacred and secret rituals. Ayla, in her werewolf form, poured her blood into a basin carved into the stone floor. The Dragonborn, if they wished to join the Circle and gain its power, needed only to drink from this basin and accept the beast blood into their body. The transformation came immediately. The Dragonborn's vision blurred, their body convulsed, and they felt the curse taking hold, rewriting their very nature at a fundamental level. When they awakened, they stood on a hill outside Whiterun in their new werewolf form, with the city spread out below them and Ayla nearby in her beast shape. The compulsion to hunt overwhelmed rational thought, and the two werewolves descended on Whiterun, terrorizing citizens and satisfying their initial bloodlust through violence. The Companions' allies in the city guard looked the other way, protecting the secret and ensuring no lasting harm came to the organization's reputation. After the transformation faded and the Dragonborn returned to human form, Ayla explained the situation more fully. She spoke of the Silver Hand, werewolf hunters who had made it their mission to destroy all lycanthropes. These enemies had killed companions before and represented a constant threat to the Circle. She tasked the Dragonborn with raiding a Silver Hand encampment at Gallows Rock, both as a test of their new abilities and as an act of vengeance against the hunters. The raid went terribly wrong. When the Dragonborn and Ayla reached the deepest chamber of Gallows Rock, they found Skjor's corpse surrounded by Silver Hand warriors. The Circle member had attempted to assault the base alone and been overwhelmed. His death enraged Ayla, who vowed to make the Silver Hand pay for killing someone she cared about deeply. This began a campaign of revenge, with the Dragonborn undertaking missions to strike at Silver Hand strongholds across Skyrim. Kodlak eventually learned of these unauthorized attacks and summoned the Dragonborn to his quarters. The old Harbinger was not pleased. While he understood the desire for revenge, he believed the Dragonborn had taken too many lives without proper cause, letting anger rather than honor guide their actions. He spoke of his own struggles with the Beastblood, explaining how he viewed it as a curse that would prevent him from reaching Sovngarde. He asked the Dragonborn to seek out the Glenmoril Coven and retrieve witch heads that could be used to cure lycanthropy, hoping to cleanse himself before death claimed him. The Dragonborn traveled to Glenmoril Coven in the wilderness of Falkreath Hold, a cave inhabited by 5 Hagravens who served Hircine. These were not human witches but transformed beings, women who had undergone terrible rituals to become something between mortal and monster. Each Hagraven fought fiercely when attacked, using powerful fire magic and their natural claws to defend themselves. One by one, the Dragonborn slew them, taking their heads, as Kodlak had requested. These heads contained the magical essence needed to perform the ritual that could cure lycanthropy. Tragically, the Dragonborn returned too late. The Silver Hand, learning of Kodlak's plans to cure the Circle and eliminate lycanthropy from the Companions, launched an attack on Jorrvaskr itself. They broke into the Mead Hall, killed Kodlak in his quarters, and stole all the fragments of Wuthrad that the Companions had been collecting. Wuthrad was the legendary battle axe of Wisegrammer, and the Silver Hand knew that the intact weapon could open the way to Wisegrammer's tomb, where the cure ritual would need to be performed. The Companions rallied for revenge. Vilkas, Kodlak's protege and one of the twins who formed the backbone of the Circle, demanded that the Silver Hand be wiped out entirely. He and the Dragonborn traveled to Driftshade Refuge, the main headquarters of the werewolf hunters. The assault was brutal and thorough. Every Silver Hand member in the fortress died, victims of companion fury and the werewolf transformations that gave their enemies such terrible power. With the Silver Hand leadership destroyed and Wuthrad's fragments recovered, the path lay clear to honor Kodlak's final wish. The funeral at the Skyforge brought together all the Companions and many of Whiterun's citizens. Jarl Balgruuf attended to pay his respects, for Kodlak had been a respected figure in the city. The ceremony followed ancient Nord traditions, with the Harbinger's body placed upon the forge and prayers spoken over him. Ayla lit the funeral pyre, and flames consumed Kodlak's physical form. But his spirit remained trapped, unable to reach Sovngarde while the beast blood still tainted his soul. Eoland Greymane, the legendary smith who tended the Skyforge, took the fragments of Wuthrad and reforged them into a complete weapon once more. This axe, wielded by the founder of the Companions thousands of years ago, served as a key. It could open the entrance to Ysgramma's tomb, where the Harbingers of old were laid to rest, and where the flame of the Harbinger burned eternally. The Dragonborn, along with Ayla, Vilkas, and Farkas, traveled to the tomb bearing Wuthrad and the Glenmoril Witches. Inside Ysgramma's tomb, the group fought through the ghosts of ancient companions who tested their worth. These spirits were not malevolent, but served as guardians, ensuring that only true warriors could reach the innermost sanctum. Farkas, despite his great physical courage, could not overcome his terror of spiders, and had to remain behind when the group reached areas infested with frostbite spiders. Eventually, only the Dragonborn and Ayla reached the chamber containing the flame of the Harbinger, where Kodlak's spirit waited. The ghost of Kodlak explained what needed to be done. A witch's head must be cast into the flame, and the act would summon forth the wolf spirit from the infected soul. Only by defeating this beast spirit in combat could the lycanthropy be purged and the soul freed. The Dragonborn threw one of the witch heads into the blue flames, and Kodlak's wolf spirit materialized, a translucent beast of terrible fury. The battle that followed proved difficult, for the spirit possessed all the werewolf's natural advantages without physical form's normal limitations. But the Dragonborn prevailed, and when the spirit fell, Kodlak's soul was finally cleansed. Free from the curse, Kodlak thanked the Dragonborn and named them the new Harbinger of the Companions. His spirit departed for Sovngarde at last, able to take its place in the Hall of Valor alongside the greatest heroes of Nordic history. The Dragonborn now led the Companions, a position of tremendous honor and responsibility. They could choose to remain a werewolf, embracing the power as Ayla did, or they could purge themselves of the curse using the remaining witch heads. They could even help Vilkas and Farkas find cures, if those warriors wished to follow Kodlak's example. The aftermath of these events left the Companions changed forever. Some members valued the beast blood and chose to keep it. Ayla remained a werewolf proudly, even offering to restore the curse to the Dragonborn if they cured themselves, but later changed their mind, though she would only do this once. Others followed Kodlak's path and sought purity, removing the curse and accepting that their combat prowess would be only mortal from that point forward. The organization continued its traditions, but the secret of the circle had been exposed, and choices about lycanthropy became personal rather than mandatory for advancement. Number, Chapter 5. The Faces of the Hunt. Notable werewolves across the ages. Throughout Tamriel's long history, certain werewolves have distinguished themselves, becoming legends or cautionary tales. These individuals represent the full spectrum of what lycanthropy can mean, from blessed champions who embraced Hircine's gift, to cursed victims who wanted nothing more than freedom from their bestial nature. Their stories illustrate the complex relationship between mortals and the curse that transforms them. Vykosa, the Ascendant, whom we discussed earlier as one of the first turned, represents perhaps the most ambitious werewolf who ever lived. Her attempt to conquer all Tamriel with her Moonhunter pack demonstrated both the potential power of organized werewolves and the inevitability of their defeat when threatened mortals unite against them. Her transformation from prey to predator, from a hare endlessly hunted to a werewolf lord capable of enslaving her own kind, embodied Hircine's philosophy about the duality of the hunt. Yet, even with all her power and the centuries of experience she accumulated, she ultimately fell to determined hunters, proving that no werewolf is truly invincible. Tharstan Heartfang, chieftain of the Skull, during the Third Era's Blood Moon events, exemplified a very different approach to lycanthropy. When werewolves attacked his village, Heartfang fought bravely to defend his people, but he was taken by the creatures and infected with their curse. As a man deeply connected to Skald traditions and spirituality, Heartfang must have struggled with the knowledge that his soul would now belong to Hircine rather than finding peace with his ancestors. Despite this, he remained a leader and a warrior, ultimately participating in the Great Hunt where Hircine tested the island's champions. His fate after those events remains uncertain in historical records, but his willingness to stand for his people even while cursed marked him as a true hero. Captain Falx Carius represented the disciplined soldier's response to lycanthropy. As the leader of Fort Frostmoth, the imperial garrison on Solstheim, Carius embodied military order and structure. When he disappeared and was later found participating in Hircine's hunt, it revealed that even the most organized and duty-bound individuals could be swept up in the Daedric Prince's games. The contrast between his military background and the wild nature of lycanthropy must have created significant internal conflict, a civilized man's mind trapped in a beast's body, serving a Daedric prince who cared nothing for laws and regulations. Falchu, the changeling, earned his place in history through sheer longevity and the terrible deeds attributed to his name. Originally a general in the Alessian Order during the First Era, Falchu received lycanthropy as a gift from Hircine and used his curse to terrorize various regions of Tamriel. His story took an even darker turn during the Second Era when Angof the Gravesinger, a necromancer serving Molag Bal, resurrected Falchu to lead an army of werewolves against the Breton city of Camlorn. The resurrected werewolf successfully captured Camlorn, killing or driving out the city's inhabitants and claiming Camlorn Keep as his stronghold. However, the Lion Guard retook the city that same year, slaying Falchu once more. The story does not end even there, for Falchu's soul had been pledged to Molag Bal as part of his resurrection. When he died, rather than going to Hircine's hunting grounds as most werewolves do, Falchu was dragged to Cold Harbor, where Molag Bal punished him for his failure. His case demonstrates that even Hircine's claim on werewolf souls is not absolute, when other Daedric princes have competing interests. The Grey Host provides another example of werewolves whose spiritual destinies were hijacked by forces other than Hircine. During the First Era, King Starishi of Verkarth assembled a massive army combining vampires and werewolves, united in service to his ambitions. This Grey Host terrorized large portions of Tamriel until they were eventually defeated and damned to Cold Harbor through a pact Starishi had made with Molag Bal. All members of the Grey Host, including its werewolf soldiers, were condemned to the Daedric Prince of Domination's realm rather than Hircine's hunting grounds. They would emerge again during the Second Era, still cursed and still serving their dark purposes, demonstrating that death and damnation had not freed them from Starishi's influence. Sinding represented a more tragic figure, a werewolf who stole the Ring of Hircine in hopes of controlling his transformations. The Ring of Hircine is a Daedric artifact, an enchanted band of metal that allows lycanthropes to control when they transform, freeing them from the influence of the moons and their own bloodlust. For a werewolf who wants to live among normal society, such control would be invaluable. But Sinding's theft angered Hircine, and the Daedric Prince cursed the ring, making it cause random transformations at the worst possible times. During one such uncontrolled transformation, Sinding killed a young girl, an innocent victim of his cursed condition. Racked with guilt, he allowed himself to be imprisoned in Falkreath's jail, awaiting execution for his crime. When the last Dragonborn encountered Sinding, the imprisoned werewolf begged for help. He asked the Dragonborn to take the cursed ring and cleanse it by hunting the White Stag, a sacred creature of Hircine. The Dragonborn pursued this task, eventually confronting the stag and slaying it. The creature's spirit then became a vessel for Hircine's voice, and the Daedric Prince spoke directly to the Dragonborn, explaining the situation and offering a choice. They could hunt down Sinding in Bloated Man's grotto as Hircine desired, earning the Savior's hide as a reward. Or they could spare Sinding and help him kill the other hunters pursuing him, earning the now uncursed Ring of Hircine instead. Both outcomes pleased Hircine in their own ways, for he appreciated the hunt regardless of which side the Dragonborn chose. Sinding's fate hung in the balance, determined entirely by the choice of this one individual who had become caught up in his tragedy. Ulthorn the Hound served Hircine during the Second Era with such devotion that he became known as one of the Daedric Prince's favoured servants. Ulthorn led the Houndsmen and sought to claim Gwerin, the Green Lady of the Bosmer, for himself rather than allowing her rightful consort, the Sylvanar, to bond with her. This interference in Bosmer spiritual matters demonstrated the conflict that could arise when Hircine's servants pursued their own desires while nominally acting in their master's name. The Green Lady and Sylvanar represent fundamental aspects of Bosmer culture and spirituality, and Ulthorn's attempt to disrupt this sacred pairing would have had catastrophic consequences for the Wood Elves if he had succeeded. Kodlak Whitemane, whom we've already discussed in detail, deserves special recognition as a werewolf who came to understand the curse's spiritual implications and worked to free himself and his companions from Hircine's claim. His journey from accepting lycanthropy as a necessary part of Circle membership to recognizing it as a theft of his soul represents the philosophical evolution that some werewolves undergo. Not all lycanthropes remain satisfied with their condition. Some begin to question whether the power is worth the price, whether the strength gained in mortal life justifies losing the afterlife they were promised by their faith. Ayla the Huntress stands as the counterpoint to Kodlak, a werewolf who never questioned her curse and never sought freedom from it. Coming from a long line of companion women who embraced their beast blood, Ayla viewed lycanthropy as part of her heritage and identity. She hunted not because she had to, but because she loved the thrill of it, the transformation, the power, the connection to something primal and ancient. After Kodlak's death and the Dragonborn's rise to Harbinger, Ayla remained the staunchest defender of lycanthropy within the Companions. She collected the Totems of Hircine, artifacts that enhanced werewolf abilities, and maintained secret shrines to the Daedric Prince in the Underforge. Her faith in Hircine never wavered, and she saw no reason to seek a cure when she viewed her condition as a blessing rather than an affliction. These varied responses to lycanthropy demonstrate that the curse affects different people in different ways. Some embrace it enthusiastically, finding power and purpose in their bestial nature. Others accept it pragmatically, using the abilities it grants while remaining aware of its costs. Still others come to view it as an intolerable burden, a theft of their humanity and future that they must escape at any price. The one constant is that lycanthropy changes everyone it touches, forcing them to confront questions about identity, mortality, and what it means to be human. Number, Chapter 6. The Witches of Glenmoril, Keepers of the Cure. In the shadows between Hircine's domain and mortal civilization exist the Glenmoril Witches, a mysterious and feared group who possess intimate knowledge of lycanthropy's secrets. Unlike typical witch covens that might practice hedge magic or make pacts with minor spirits, the Glenmoril Wyrd worship Hircine directly and understand the mechanics of his curse better than almost anyone. This knowledge makes them both the primary spreaders and the primary curers of lycanthropy, depending on their mood and the circumstances of their involvement. The Glenmoril Wyrd are not a single unified organization, but rather a loose network of covens spread across Tamriel. 8 known covens have been identified by scholars, each operating with some independence while following similar principles and maintaining connections to their sister groups. The westernmost coven resides in the Ilisan Hills of High Rock, while the easternmost, the Greenspring Coven, makes its home in central Skyrim. Other known groups include the Hagfeather Coven in western Falkreath, the Markarth Sisters in the city of Markarth, the Viridian Wyrd in Bankarai's Viridian Woods, the Fen Witches of Hjalmarch's Swamps, and the Rimrock Wyrd, whose exact location remains uncertain, though likely somewhere in Harfingar. What distinguishes the Glenmoril Wyrd from other witch covens is their unique position regarding lycanthropy. While they all worship Hircine, different covens interpret his worship differently. The Ilisan Hills Coven, for instance, has been documented spreading lycanthropy to create more werewolves who can hunt in Hircine's name. Conversely, other covens possess the knowledge to cure the affliction, though they guard this secret jealously and grant it only under specific circumstances. The most famous encounter between the Companions and the Glenmoril Witches occurred generations before the Fourth Era, when Harbinger Terfeig sought power for his warriors. The negotiations with the Coven seemed straightforward. The Companions would hunt in Hircine's name, and in return, they would receive the strength of the beast. What Terfeig failed to understand, or what the witches deliberately concealed, was that this bargain bound not just the warriors who made it, but all future generations. The ritual performed under the Skyforge transformed the circle into werewolves, and that curse would be passed down through blood ceremonies for centuries. The deception involved in this bargain raises important questions about the Glenmoril Wyrd's true loyalties and motivations. Did they genuinely believe they were serving Hircine's interests by creating a permanent population of werewolves within Skyrim's most prestigious warrior organization? Or did they act with malice, enjoying the irony of cursing those who prided themselves on honor with an affliction that would steal their afterlives? The answer likely varies from witch to witch, from coven to coven, for these women are not mindless servants but individuals with their own interpretations of what serving Hircine means. The process by which the Glenmoril Witches create werewolves involves ritual magic of considerable power. The blood ritual performed beneath the Skyforge represents one method. A current werewolf, in beast form, allows their blood to flow into a ritual vessel, and the initiate drinks from this cup, accepting the curse willingly into their body. The transformation takes effect immediately, overwhelming the new werewolf with bestial instincts and the compulsion to hunt. This method ensures that lycanthropy spreads through choice rather than accident, though one might question how much choice truly exists when joining the circle requires accepting the curse. But the Glenmoril Witches possess an even more important secret. They know how to cure lycanthropy permanently. This knowledge comes with a terrible price, for the cure requires the death of a Glenmoril Witch herself. The process, as discovered by Kodlak and performed by the Dragonborn, involves several steps. First, a Glenmoril Witch must be slain and her head taken. These are not ordinary women but Hagravens, beings who have undergone their own terrible transformations to gain power. Killing a Hagraven is no simple task, as they wield powerful fire magic and fight with savage fury. The witch's head must then be brought to a place of power, somewhere touched by the history of the Companions and capable of channeling spiritual energy. Ysgramma's tomb serves this purpose perfectly, for it contains the flame of the Harbinger, a mystical fire that has burned since the organization's founding. When the witch's head is cast into these flames, it releases the magic needed to separate the wolf spirit from the infected soul. The spirit manifests as a translucent beast, and only by defeating this projection in single combat can the afflicted individual be freed. This cure is not easily accessible. The Glenmoril Witches do not advertise their ability to break Hircine's curse, and even if they did, few would willingly approach a coven of Hagravens to negotiate for their deaths. The ritual requires not just the witch's head, but also access to a sacred flame or similar source of spiritual power, something that exists only in rare locations. Even then, each witch's head can cure only one individual, meaning that mass cures are impossible unless someone is willing to commit genocide against multiple covens. The Glenmoril Coven encountered by the Dragonborn in Falkreath consisted of 5 Hagravens, Melka, and 4 others whose names varied depending on who approached them. These creatures made their home in a cave system, guarding their territory fiercely and attacking any who entered without proper respect or purpose. When the Dragonborn came seeking witch heads to cure Kodlak, the Hagravens fought to the death, using their formidable magic and aerial mobility to make the battle as difficult as possible. Each witch's head taken represented both the potential for one cure and the permanent elimination of one source of lycanthropic knowledge. After securing the witch heads and performing the cure ritual for Kodlak posthumously, the Dragonborn retained the remaining heads and could use them to cure themselves or other Circle members. Vilkas and Farkas, the twin brothers who formed much of the Circle's martial strength, could choose to follow Kodlak's example and purge themselves of lycanthropy. The decision weighed heavily on both. Vilkas, who had been closest to Kodlak and absorbed much of his philosophy, often chose to seek the cure, valuing the promise of Sovngarde over the power of the beast. Farkas, less philosophical and more practical, sometimes kept his lycanthropy, finding the strength useful despite understanding its spiritual cost. The cure's existence creates an interesting dynamic within werewolf communities. Those who know about it face a choice: remain powerful but cursed, or become weaker but spiritually free. For werewolves who embrace their condition like Ayla, the cure holds no appeal. They see no reason to give up abilities they value and view Hircine's claim on their souls as a feature rather than a bug. For those who never wanted lycanthropy or who come to regret it, the cure represents hope, a way to reclaim their humanity and their spiritual destiny even if it means sacrificing power. The Glenmoril Witches' role extends beyond just the companion situation. Throughout Tamriel's history, these covens have influenced the spread and control of lycanthropy in ways both subtle and overt. Some covens actively spread the curse, believing that creating more werewolves serves Hircine's interests by increasing the number of hunters in his service. Others focus on maintaining balance, curing those who genuinely wish to be free while ensuring that werewolves continue to exist as a species. Still, others pursue their own agendas, using lycanthropy as a tool for manipulation and control. The transformation of these women into Hagravens represents another layer of sacrifice and curse. To become a Hagraven requires giving up one's humanity through dark rituals, transforming into a creature that is no longer fully mortal. The process grants magical power and extended life, but at the cost of physical beauty and social connection. Hagravens are universally feared and hated, treated as monsters by the very societies they may have once been part of. Their dedication to Hircine and their mastery of lycanthropy's secrets comes from this transformed state, suggesting that understanding the curse requires becoming cursed oneself, albeit in a different way. Number Chapter 7. The Hunting Grounds, Hircine's Realm. When a werewolf dies, their soul does not journey to the afterlife promised by their mortal faith. Instead, regardless of their wishes or beliefs, they are claimed by Hircine and transported to his realm of oblivion, known as the Hunting Grounds. This dimension represents the Daedric Prince's vision of paradise, an endless wilderness where the hunt never ceases, where prey runs eternally beneath strange skies, and where his children can pursue their predatory nature without limitation or consequence. The Hunting Grounds exist as a pocket of reality shaped entirely by Hircine's will and nature. Unlike Nirn with its fixed geography and natural laws, Oblivion realms reflect the personalities and purposes of the princes who rule them. Hircine's realm manifests as primordial wilderness, untamed forests stretching to impossible horizons, mountains that touch skies of unfamiliar colors, plains where herds of creatures both familiar and alien roam in numbers beyond counting. It is a hunter's paradise and a prey animal's nightmare, a place where the chase defines all existence. Those who arrive in the Hunting Grounds do not find rest or peace in any traditional sense. Instead, they join the eternal hunt, becoming either hunters or prey depending on Hircine's whims and their own nature. The most skilled and dedicated werewolves, those who embraced their curse and hunted with glory during their mortal lives, often become Hircine's honored huntsmen. They lead packs through the wilderness, tracking and bringing down prey with the same passion they showed in life. Except now, the hunt never ends. There are always new trails to follow, new prey to chase, new challenges to overcome. But not all souls in the Hunting Grounds hunt willingly. Some werewolves never wanted the curse, never embraced their bestial nature, and certainly never asked to spend eternity serving a Daedric prince they may have despised. These reluctant hunters find themselves compelled by Hircine's will, forced to participate in hunts they might rather avoid. The realm itself seems to amplify hunting instincts, making it difficult to resist the call of the chase, even for those who wish to remain still. Even more disturbing is the fate of some souls who become prey rather than predators. Hircine's concept of the hunt requires both roles to exist, and not all spirits sent to his realm join the hunters. Some become the hunted, condemned to flee eternally from predators who can never be fully escaped. This fate might befall those who failed as werewolves, who showed cowardice or incompetence in their hunts, or who simply displeased Hircine through their actions or attitudes. The transformation from predator to prey in the afterlife represents the ultimate humiliation for a lycanthrope. The hunting grounds contain more than just forests and plains. Within this vast realm exist structures that reflect different aspects of the hunt. Hunting lodges, where successful hunters can gather and celebrate their victories, stand alongside training grounds where lesser hunters improve their skills. Sacred groves dedicated to specific aspects of the hunt dot the landscape, each one serving as a focal point for particular hunting philosophies. The realm contains echoes of places from Nirn where great hunts occurred, phantom versions of famous hunting grounds that allow Hircine's followers to relive legendary chases. One of the most significant structures in the hunting grounds is the Great Lodge, Hircine's personal hall where the Daedric Prince himself resides when not walking among mortals or attending to other business. Here, the greatest hunters who ever lived gather to share stories of their most impressive kills, to compete in hunting competitions that test skills honed over centuries, and to bask in Hircine's favor. Earning a place in the Great Lodge represents the highest achievement a werewolf can hope for, proof that they mastered the art of the hunt so completely that even death could not diminish their prowess. The relationship between time and the hunting grounds differs from how time functions on Nirn. Hunts can last for what feels like days or weeks, yet no hunger or exhaustion ever forces the hunters to stop. The perpetual nature of the chase means that what begins as exhilarating can eventually become monotonous. Yet the hunting instincts Hircine cultivates in his followers prevent them from growing bored or questioning their existence. They hunt because hunting is what they were made to do, and the hunting grounds provides an environment where this purpose can be fulfilled without end. Visitors to the hunting grounds, those who enter while still alive through portals or ritual magic, report a landscape that defies mortal understanding. The sky displays constellations that do not exist in Nirn's heavens, celestial patterns that seem to move and shift when observed directly. The flora includes plants that could not survive in a natural ecosystem, carnivorous trees that hunt alongside the animal predators, flowers that bloom with impossible colors, grasses that whisper secrets to those who listen. The fauna ranges from normal deer and elk to creatures of nightmare, beasts stitched together from multiple animals, prey animals with supernatural speed or cunning, and predators that make werewolves seem tame by comparison. Hircine populates his realm not just with the souls of dead werewolves, but with spirits and creatures created specifically to fulfill particular roles within the eternal hunt. Some prey animals exist only to be hunted, their purpose defined entirely by the need for targets. Some predators serve as challenges for even the most skilled hunters, obstacles that test whether a werewolf truly deserves a place in the Great Lodge. The realm constantly generates new hunting scenarios, ensuring that even ancient spirits who have hunted for millennia can still find fresh challenges. The philosophical implications of the hunting grounds raise troubling questions about justice and consent. Werewolves have their souls claimed by Hircine regardless of whether they wanted the curse, embraced it, or spent their entire lives trying to escape it. A person who was infected accidentally through a random werewolf attack, who hated their condition and struggled against it every day of their life, still ends up in the hunting grounds when they die. This seems fundamentally unjust. A Daedric prince imposing his will on souls who never chose to serve him. From Hircine's perspective, however, this is simply the nature of his sphere. Once someone becomes a werewolf, they become his, part of his domain, and subject to his laws. The blessing of lycanthropy comes with the price of eternal service, and Hircine sees nothing wrong with claiming what is his by right. Mortals who dislike this arrangement should avoid becoming werewolves, or, if infected, seek a cure before death claims them. Those who die still cursed have made their choice, whether they intended to or not. This dynamic creates the primary motivation for werewolves like Kodlak to seek cures. The loss of power matters less than the loss of spiritual freedom. A Nord who becomes a werewolf loses access to Sovngarde, that hall of heroes where honored dead feast with Ysgramma and the ancient warriors of legend. An Argonian werewolf cannot return to the Hiss to have their soul recycled back into new life. A Dunmer lycanthrope will not join their ancestors in the realm of Azura or whatever other afterlife their house traditions promise. Every race, every culture, every faith tradition has its own vision of the afterlife, and lycanthropy overrides all of them, replacing centuries of spiritual development with Hircine's singular claim. The cure ritual's effectiveness stems partly from its ability to break this spiritual claim before death makes it permanent. By separating the wolf spirit from the soul while the person still lives, the ritual removes the supernatural marker that would otherwise direct the soul to the hunting grounds. When a cured werewolf dies, their soul travels to wherever it would have gone had they never been infected. Whether that's Sovngarde, the Dreamsleave, the realm of some divine being they worshipped, or simply oblivion, the cure doesn't just remove werewolf abilities, it restores spiritual autonomy. Some werewolves make peace with their destiny in the hunting grounds. They reason that an eternity of hunting sounds pleasant enough, certainly preferable to some afterlives that promise eternal toil or suffering. Others view it pragmatically. They're already werewolves. The power is useful in life, and worrying about what happens after death seems pointless when there are more immediate concerns. Still others embrace Hircine's claim enthusiastically, viewing service to the father of man-beasts as a genuine honor rather than a burden. But for those who value their spiritual traditions and the afterlife promises those traditions make, the hunting grounds represents theft on a cosmic scale. Hircine steals not just years of mortal life corrupted by the beast blood, but eternity itself, condemning souls to serve his purposes forever, without regard for their wishes or beliefs. This is the true curse of lycanthropy, the aspect that makes it more than just a disease or a source of power. It is a spiritual hijacking that continues beyond death, making escape impossible except through the difficult and dangerous cure. Number Chapter 8. The Beast Within. Living as a werewolf. The day-to-day experience of being a werewolf varies dramatically depending on when and where the afflicted individual lives, how they contracted the disease, and their personal attitude toward their condition. Understanding what life as a werewolf actually entails requires examining not just the moments of transformation, but the constant awareness of the beast lurking beneath the surface of human consciousness. For most werewolves, the transformation occurs in response to specific triggers. The most common trigger involves the phases of the moons, particularly when Massa and Secunda align in certain configurations. During these lunar events, the pull toward transformation becomes nearly irresistible, and werewolves who wish to maintain their human form must exercise tremendous willpower to resist the change. Those who lack sufficient control find themselves transforming involuntarily, their human consciousness submerging beneath bestial instincts as their bodies reshape themselves. The physical transformation itself takes mere moments but involves complete bodily restructuring. Bones crack and reform, elongating or thickening as needed to create the werewolf's larger frame. Muscles tear and regrow stronger, denser, capable of generating the tremendous force werewolves display in combat. The skull elongates into a canine muzzle, teeth falling out, and being replaced by fangs designed for tearing meat. Hands become clawed weapons while feet reshape into digitigrade structures better suited for running at high speeds. Thick fur erupts from every pore, providing protection from cold and minor injuries. The sensory changes prove equally dramatic. A werewolf's hearing sharpens to levels that would overwhelm someone unused to the enhancement, allowing them to pick up whispered conversations from hundreds of feet away or detect the heartbeat of nearby prey. Their sense of smell becomes their primary method of perceiving the world, with scent trails appearing as clearly as visible paths. They can track a specific individual across miles of wilderness by following their unique scent signature. Night vision activates, turning darkness into merely dim twilight and allowing them to hunt effectively regardless of lighting conditions. But the most significant change occurs in the mind. When a werewolf transforms, their human consciousness does not simply disappear, but it becomes buried beneath layers of predatory instinct. The beast within, normally restrained by human rationality and social conditioning, surges to the forefront. Hunger dominates thought processes. Not just hunger for food, but the specific craving to hunt, to chase fleeing prey, to bring down a victim and feast upon their flesh. Rational planning gives way to instinctive reaction. Complex emotions simplify into basic drives: hunt, kill, eat, territory, pack. The degree to which the human mind remains accessible during transformation varies among individuals and improves with experience. Newly transformed werewolves often find themselves completely overtaken by bestial instincts, unable to distinguish friend from foe, attacking anyone who crosses their path until the transformation ends. These feral episodes terrify new lycanthropes who wake up human again with no memory of what they did while transformed. Only blood on their hands and the horrified reactions of anyone who witnessed their rampage. More experienced werewolves develop the ability to maintain partial control over their beast form. They learn to direct their aggression toward specific targets, to avoid attacking allies, to retain enough human intelligence to employ tactics rather than just charging mindlessly at enemies. The Circle members of the Companions demonstrate this level of control, able to transform deliberately and use their werewolf abilities in service of their contracts, while avoiding collateral damage to innocents. The hunger that accompanies transformation proves particularly difficult to manage. Werewolves in beast form experience an overwhelming urge to feed, specifically to consume the hearts of their victims. This is not merely appetite, but a supernatural compulsion woven into the curse itself. Each heart consumed during transformation extends the duration of the beast form, allowing the werewolf to remain transformed longer. This creates a dangerous feedback loop where successful hunts enable longer transformations, which enable more hunting. When the transformation finally ends, whether through time expiring or the werewolf's conscious choice to revert, the process reverses rapidly. The body shrinks back to human proportions, fur retracts, bones crack back into their original configuration, and the bestial mind recedes. The werewolf finds themselves human again, often exhausted from the physical and mental strain of transformation, sometimes injured if they took damage during their hunt, always aware that the beast still lurks within them, waiting for the next opportunity to emerge. Living as a werewolf requires constant vigilance and deception for those who wish to maintain a place in normal society. The afflicted must hide their condition from those who would react with fear or violence. Werewolf hunters remain active in many regions, making discovery potentially fatal. Even in places where lycanthropy is known and somewhat tolerated, werewolves face discrimination and suspicion. People fear what they might do during transformations, worry about being infected if the werewolf loses control, and question whether someone who harbors a beast within can truly be trusted. The Companions manage this balance through secrecy and reputation. Only Circle members know about the lycanthropy, and they keep this secret carefully guarded. The organization's sterling reputation and long history of honorable service provide cover for their members' activities. When Circle members need to transform, they do so away from populated areas or during sanctioned hunts, where their abilities can be explained away as remarkable combat prowess rather than supernatural transformation. For werewolves without such institutional support, life becomes more difficult. They must find isolated places to undergo involuntary transformations, hoping they don't harm anyone during their feral episodes. They must resist the urge to transform voluntarily, even when the power would be useful, knowing that witnesses would spread tales that could bring hunters down upon them. They must constantly assess whether the people around them are trustworthy enough to learn their secret or dangerous enough that the truth would spell their doom. The physical needs of werewolves also differ from normal humans. While in human form, they retain their enhanced immunity to diseases, meaning they never suffer from common illnesses that plague others. This immunity can itself become suspicious if someone notices that a particular individual never gets sick, despite being exposed to plagues or infections. The enhanced metabolism of werewolves means they require more food than normal humans, particularly meat, though they can survive on a normal diet when necessary. The psychological impact of lycanthropy cannot be understated. Knowing that you carry a beast within you, that you are capable of acts of savage violence that your human mind would never consider, creates constant internal tension. Some werewolves come to view themselves as monsters wearing human skin, their true nature revealed only during transformation. Others maintain that they are humans cursed with an affliction, that the beast is not them but something imposed upon them. Still others embrace a dual identity, accepting that they are both human and wolf, two natures existing in one body. The social dynamics among werewolves vary depending on how they view their condition. Some form packs, gathering together for mutual support and protection. These groups provide acceptance that the cursed cannot find elsewhere, communities where they need not hide their true nature. Pack dynamics often mirror wolf behavior with dominant and submissive members, alphas who lead and omegas who follow, though these roles are determined more by personality and strength than by any supernatural hierarchy. Other werewolves prefer solitude, living alone and avoiding contact with their own kind. They might view other lycanthropes as competition for territory, or as reminders of what they've become. Solitary werewolves must be self-sufficient, managing their condition without support or guidance from those who understand what they're experiencing. This isolation can be peaceful or maddening depending on the individual's temperament. Number, Chapter 9, Silver and Wolfsbane, Weapons against the Beast. Throughout Tamriel's history, as werewolves have prowled the wilderness and occasionally threatened civilized settlements, various methods of combating these creatures have been developed and refined. Understanding how to fight werewolves effectively has meant the difference between survival and death for countless hunters, guards, and unfortunate victims who found themselves face to face with transformed lycanthropes. The most famous and effective anti-werewolf weapon is silver. This precious metal, prized for its beauty and monetary value in normal commerce, proves devastatingly effective against lycanthropes when forged into weapons. A sword of pure silver, or even one merely coated with silver, can inflict terrible wounds on werewolves that would laugh off similar strikes from normal steel. The reason for silver's effectiveness stems from the supernatural nature of lycanthropy itself. The curse that grants werewolves their power creates a corresponding vulnerability to this specific substance. The exact mechanism by which silver harms werewolves has been debated by scholars for centuries. Some theorize that silver disrupts the magical energies sustaining the werewolf form, causing the curse to partially unravel at the point of contact. Others believe that silver carries properties naturally opposed to Hircine's sphere, making it anathema to his children. Still, others suggest that the pain inflicted by silver is primarily psychosomatic, that werewolves expect silver to harm them, and therefore it does through a form of nocebo effect, reinforced by genuine magical programming within the curse itself. Regardless of the theoretical explanation, the practical effect remains consistent. Silver weapons dramatically increase the damage inflicted on werewolves. A silver arrow that might merely wound a normal human can prove fatal to a lycanthrope. A silver sword in the hands of a skilled warrior can cut through werewolf, hide, and muscle far more easily than mundane weapons. This creates a clear tactical advantage for hunters who come prepared with silvered weapons, though it also means that werewolves learn to avoid opponents known to carry such tools. The Silver Hand organization understood this principle thoroughly. This group of werewolf hunters, active during the Fourth Era in Skyrim, equipped all their members with silver weapons and maintained facilities for producing more. Their headquarters at Driftshade Refuge contained forges specifically dedicated to creating silver swords and coating other weapons with the precious metal. The organization recruited individuals who had lost loved ones to werewolf attacks, people driven by vengeance, rather than simple monster hunting. This made them fanatic in their dedication and ruthless in their methods. The Silver Hand's approach to werewolf hunting went beyond simply using silver weapons. They studied lycanthrope behavior patterns, learning where packs end and when individuals were most likely to transform. They set traps designed specifically for werewolves, using bait that would attract them and restraints strong enough to hold even the most powerful specimens. They developed tactics for fighting transformed lycanthropes in groups, using coordinated attacks to prevent the werewolf from focusing on any single opponent long enough to kill them. Their methods proved effective enough that the Companions, despite being Skyrim's most renowned warriors, genuinely feared the Silver Hand. The revelation that Skjor had been killed by Silver Hand forces at Gallows Rock demonstrated that even experienced werewolf warriors could fall to determined hunters with proper equipment and preparation. The Silver Hand's willingness to attack Jorrvaskr itself and assassinate Kodlak Whitemane showed that they would pursue werewolves anywhere without regard for the target's reputation or the political consequences of their actions. Beyond silver weapons, certain plants prove effective against werewolves, both as deterrents and as poisons. Wolfsbane, as its name suggests, has been traditionally used to ward off lycanthropes. The plant's flowers, and especially its roots, contain toxins that sicken werewolves even in small doses. Hunters have been known to coat weapons with wolfsbane extract, creating poisoned blades that not only wound but also weaken and disorient their targets. Some communities plant wolfsbane around their perimeters as a natural defense, hoping that werewolves will avoid areas where the plant grows abundantly. Belladonna, also known as deadly nightshade, proves similarly effective. The juice extracted from ripened belladonna berries causes werewolves' veins to shrivel and their bones to become brittle. This transformation makes them vulnerable to attacks that would normally cause only minor damage. The petals of the plant's distinctive flowers can be used to create potions and poisons specifically tailored to harm lycanthropes. Like wolfsbane, belladonna serves both defensive and offensive purposes in the eternal struggle between humans and werewolves. Canis root, found primarily in Skyrim's colder regions, has properties that repel werewolves, particularly werebears. Local folklore suggests that smearing canis root on trees surrounding one's home will keep shapeshifters away. Whether this actually works or merely represents superstition passed down through generations remains unclear. But many rural communities continue the practice, reasoning that the effort costs little and might provide protection. Fire represents another effective weapon against werewolves, though perhaps not quite as dramatically effective as silver. Lycanthropes can be burned, and fire damage proves difficult for them to regenerate from compared to slashing or bludgeoning injuries. This makes fire magic particularly useful for mages facing werewolf opponents. Flames that would cause painful but survivable burns on a normal human can prove fatal to a werewolf who cannot heal quickly enough to survive the damage. Some hunter groups have adopted tactics involving flaming arrows or oil-based fire traps specifically designed to kill lycanthropes. The effectiveness of various weapons and tactics depends partly on the specific subspecies of lycanthrope being faced. Werewolves, the most common variety, possess balanced abilities with no particular resistances beyond their general supernatural durability. Werebears prove tougher and harder to kill, requiring more punishment before falling. Werewolves possess unique resistance to poisons, making certain strategies less effective against them. Understanding what type of lycanthrope one faces allows for better tactical planning. Beyond physical weapons, certain magical approaches prove effective against werewolves. Turn undead spells, despite lycanthropes not being undead, sometimes affect them due to the cursed nature of their existence. Paralysis effects can stop a charging werewolf in its tracks, though the duration must be sufficient to actually kill the creature before it recovers. Calm spells occasionally work on lycanthropes in human form, though transformed, werewolves typically prove too enraged for such magic to take hold. The ultimate weapon against a werewolf of course, is another werewolf. When lycanthropes fight each other, their supernatural strength, speed, and durability create relatively balanced matchups where skill and experience determine the outcome more than any particular advantage. This principle explains why the Companions could effectively combat rogue werewolves despite being afflicted with the same curse. Their training, discipline, and coordination allowed them to defeat less organized lycanthropes, even when both sides possessed similar supernatural abilities. Religious and spiritual protections provide another layer of defense against werewolves. Temples and shrines dedicated to the Nine Divines sometimes offer sanctuary to those fleeing lycanthropic attacks, with the consecrated ground itself providing protection. Whether this works through genuine divine intervention or simply because werewolves prefer to avoid attacking in places where they might face holy warriors is unclear. Some priests claim the ability to ward off werewolves through prayer and blessing, though documented evidence of this remains scarce. The psychology of fighting werewolves matters as much as the equipment used. Lycanthropes in beast form rely heavily on intimidation, using their fearsome appearance and thunderous roars to break enemy morale before combat even begins. Hunters who give in to terror make easy prey, running in panic and triggering the werewolf's chase instincts. Those who stand firm, maintaining their courage despite facing a nightmare creature, significantly improve their survival chances. Many veteran hunters speak of the importance of mental preparation, of accepting beforehand that one might die, so that fear does not paralyze in the critical moment. Number Chapter 10. The Spiritual Dimensions, Faith, Philosophy, and the Cursed Soul. The existence of werewolves raises profound theological and philosophical questions that have troubled scholars, priests, and the afflicted themselves for millennia. When a condition can literally steal someone's soul and redirect their afterlife, when a curse can override the promises made by gods and cultural traditions, the implications extend far beyond simple questions of how to fight monsters or cure diseases. For the deeply religious, lycanthropy represents a theological crisis. Consider a Nord warrior who has spent their entire life following the teachings of the Nine Divines, who has worshipped Talos and dreamed of earning a place in Sovngarde through glorious combat. If this warrior becomes infected with lycanthropy and cannot secure a cure before death, all their piety and devotion means nothing. Hircine claims their soul regardless of how they lived or what they believed. The Daedric Prince's claim supersedes all other spiritual arrangements. This creates a situation where faith traditions must acknowledge their own limitations. A priest of Arche, the divine associated with the cycle of birth and death, cannot promise that lycanthropes will pass through the normal death process and reach the appropriate afterlife. The curse breaks the cycle that Arche supposedly governs. Similarly, priests of Stendarr, who normally oppose Daedric influence and offer protection against supernatural evils, must admit that their god's protection does not extend to preventing Hircine from claiming werewolf souls after death. The Vigilance of Stendarr, an order dedicated to destroying Daedric influence wherever it appears, view werewolves as abominations that must be eliminated. They make no distinction between lycanthropes who embrace their curse and those who hate it, between voluntary werewolves and victims of random infection. In the Vigilance worldview, allowing werewolves to exist means allowing Hircine's corruption to spread, and the only acceptable solution is complete eradication of all lycanthropes. This hardline stance has brought them into conflict with groups like the Companions, creating situations where respected warriors and zealous holy crusaders find themselves on opposite sides. Some faiths have developed theological frameworks to explain lycanthropy in ways that fit their existing doctrines. Certain Khajiiti religious scholars interpret werewolves as individuals who have lost their connection to the lunar lattice, the spiritual force that normally determines Khajiiti forms. From this perspective, lycanthropy represents not a curse, but a disconnection from proper spiritual order, a wandering soul that has lost its way and latched onto Hircine's influence instead. This interpretation suggests that curing lycanthropy requires restoring the afflicted individual's connection to their proper spiritual path, rather than simply removing a disease. Bosma theology, with its emphasis on maintaining proper form as taught by Y'ffre, views lycanthropy as a violation of the Green Pact and natural order. The ability to shift between forms without Y'ffre's blessing represents chaos and corruption. Yet some Bosma scholars note similarities between werewolves and the Wild Hunt, that terrible ritual where Bosma intentionally shed their forms and become monsters to destroy their enemies. Could lycanthropy represent an individualized, permanent version of what the Wild Hunt accomplishes temporarily and communally? This troubling parallel suggests that the line between sacred ritual and Daedric curse might be thinner than comfortable to consider. The philosophical implications of lycanthropy extend to questions of identity and free will. When a werewolf transforms, are they still the same person? The beast acts on instincts the human would never indulge, commits acts of violence the mortal mind finds abhorrent, kills and feeds without moral consideration. Yet the human consciousness remains present at some level, buried beneath bestial impulses but not completely absent. Can the human aspect be held responsible for what the beast does? Should werewolves face legal punishment for murders committed during involuntary transformations? Different jurisdictions handle these questions differently. Some simply execute all known werewolves regardless of circumstance, viewing them as too dangerous to allow continued existence. Others attempt more nuanced approaches, distinguishing between voluntary lycanthropes who embrace the curse and victims who struggle against it. Still, others ignore the problem entirely, either out of fear or pragmatism, allowing werewolves to exist as long as they cause no obvious harm. The question of informed consent becomes particularly fraught in cases like the Companions Circle. When a warrior is initiated into the circle and offered the beast blood, have they truly consented if they don't understand the spiritual implications? Many circle members likely focused on the immediate power gain without fully comprehending that they were signing away their afterlife in Sovngarde. By the time they understood the true cost, the curse had already taken hold, and only the difficult ritual with the Glenmoril Witches could free them. This raises questions about the ethics of groups like the Glenmoril Wyrd who broker these deals. Did they have an obligation to fully explain the consequences to Turfag before cursing the companions? Or were they within their rights to offer power and let mortals discover the price on their own? Different philosophical traditions would answer these questions differently, but the fact that Kodlak considered the witches deceptive suggests he believed full disclosure should have been provided. The existence of the cure itself raises theological questions. If Hircine truly has claim to werewolf souls, how can a ritual using witch heads break that claim? The answer seems to lie in the spiritual mechanics of the cure. By separating the wolf spirit from the human soul while the person still lives, the ritual removes the supernatural marker that Hircine uses to identify his claimed spirits. Without this marker, the soul becomes invisible to Hircine's power, allowing it to travel to whatever afterlife the person's actions and beliefs would normally direct it toward. This suggests that Hircine's claim on souls is not absolute or irrevocable, but rather depends on specific spiritual conditions that can be manipulated by those with sufficient knowledge. The Glenmoril Witches, despite serving Hircine, possess this knowledge and can grant freedom from his grasp. Whether they do this with his blessing or against his wishes remains unclear. Some scholars suggest Hircine allows the cure to exist because it provides an additional layer of sport to his relationship with lycanthropes. Others believe the witches guard secrets their patron would rather see destroyed. Number Chapter 11. Across the ages, lycanthropy in Elder Scrolls history. The manifestation and experience of lycanthropy has varied significantly across the different eras and regions documented in Elder Scrolls games. Understanding how the curse has functioned in different times and places provides insight into both its supernatural flexibility and the changing nature of mortal society's response to it. During the Second Era, lycanthropy remained widespread across Tamriel, with various werewolf packs and individual lycanthropes establishing territories throughout the continent. The Moonhunter pack under Vykosa's leadership represented one of the largest organized groups of werewolves ever assembled, demonstrating that lycanthropes could form sophisticated societies when not constantly hunted. The eventual destruction of this pack by the Undaunted showed that even large werewolf organizations remained vulnerable to determined opposition. The Second Era also saw the rise of the Grey Host, that terrible army combining vampires and werewolves under King Sterishi's banner. This alliance demonstrated that lycanthropes could function as disciplined soldiers rather than merely savage beasts, though it also showed the dangers of werewolves being organized for conquest rather than simple survival. The Grey Host's damnation to Cold Harbor revealed that Hircine's claim on werewolf souls, while powerful, could be overridden by other Daedric princes under specific circumstances. By the Third Era, when the events of Daggerfall unfolded in 405, lycanthropy had become somewhat systematized in the Iliac Bay region. Werewolves and werebores both existed in substantial numbers, spreading their curse through random encounters with a 0.6% transmission rate per successful attack. The disease followed predictable patterns. Infection led to strange dreams, a 72-hour incubation period, and then permanent transformation unless cured within that window. Daggerfall's lycanthropes faced unique challenges and restrictions. Every 15 days, they needed to kill an innocent NPC or guard, their health slowly depleting if they failed to satisfy this bloodlust. During full moons, they transformed automatically and remained in beast form for the entire day, unable to revert regardless of their wishes. This lack of control made social integration extremely difficult, forcing many werewolves to live as outcasts who timed their travels to avoid settlements during the full moon. The mechanical aspects of Daggerfall lycanthropy emphasize the curse's benefits alongside its costs. Strength, speed, agility, and endurance all increased by 40 points, while various skills improved by 30. These enhancements applied constantly, not just during transformation, making werewolves significantly more capable than normal humans, even in their mortal forms. However, they gained immunity to iron and steel weapons only while transformed, making them vulnerable to common weapons while human. Daggerfall werewolves, who wished to cure themselves, could seek out specific NPCs who offered quests to break the curse. These cures were permanent, preventing reinfection but also removing all the enhanced abilities gained from lycanthropy. The decision to cure oneself required weighing the freedom from bloodlust and forced transformations against the loss of supernatural strength and speed. Some werewolves chose to remain cursed, believing the power worth the price. The Third Era's late period, when the Nerevarine walked Solstheim during the events of Blood Moon in 427, brought changes to how lycanthropy functioned. The disease, known as Sanis lupinus on Solstheim, still followed a 3-day incubation period before becoming permanent. However, Blood Moon lycanthropy operated differently from its Daggerfall predecessor in several key ways. Blood Moon werewolves needed to kill someone every night while transformed, not just every 15 days. This increased frequency of required killing made integration into society nearly impossible. The Skull tribe, whose spiritual traditions gave them deep understanding of Hircine's ways, refused to tolerate werewolves in their midst, forcing infected Nerevarine to cure themselves if they wished to work with the tribe. This demonstrated how some cultures maintained absolute prohibitions against lycanthropy based on religious or spiritual principles. The transformation mechanics in Blood Moon emphasized the loss of access to equipment and abilities. Werewolves could not loot corpses, pick locks, or interact with objects in most normal ways. Their inventory became inaccessible, forcing them to rely entirely on their enhanced physical abilities and natural weapons. This made werewolf form useful primarily for combat, not for the exploration and problem-solving that adventurers typically engage in. However, Blood Moon werewolves gained specific advantages that made them formidable hunters. Their claws dealt devastating damage, potentially 125 points with a fully drawn attack, increasing to 175 if they completed certain quests for Hircine. Their movement speed increased by 50%, allowing them to run down fleeing prey effortlessly. They gained night vision and the ability to detect nearby NPCs at vast distances, making them perfect nocturnal predators. The cure, available in Blood Moon, the Rite of the Wolfgiver, required significantly more effort and moral compromise than simple healing magic. The ritual, taught by the Glenmoril Witches, involved gathering wolfsbane petals and ripened belladonna berries, then sacrificing an innocent Nord on an altar. The werewolf's curse would transfer into the victim's heart, which, when placed back in the corpse, would create a new werewolf that the original lycanthrope had to kill. This gruesome process granted permanent immunity to lycanthropy, but came at the cost of an innocent life. By the Fourth Era, when Skyrim's events unfolded over 200 years after Oblivion, lycanthropy had evolved again. The most significant change involved how the curse spread. Unlike earlier eras where random combat could transmit the disease, Fourth Era lycanthropy in Skyrim spread primarily through ritual transmission. The companions passed their beast blood through ceremonial drinking of werewolf blood, creating a controlled succession rather than random infection. This ritualized transmission created distinct bloodlines of lycanthropy, with the companions' lineage traced back generations to Turfig's original bargain with the Glenmoril Wyrd. Other werewolves existed outside this bloodline, some blessed directly by Hircine, others infected through means left ambiguous by historical records. The variety of transmission methods meant that werewolves came from diverse backgrounds with different relationships to their curse. Skyrim werewolves gained access to a skill tree through the Dawnguard expansion, allowing them to develop their abilities through practice and feeding. Each heart consumed while in beast form granted experience toward werewolf-specific perks that enhanced combat effectiveness, durability, and special abilities. This systematization of development reflected Fourth Era society's more sophisticated understanding of how supernatural abilities could be trained and improved. The transformation mechanics in Skyrim emphasized temporary empowerment rather than permanent alteration. Werewolves could transform once per day, remaining in beast form for approximately 2.5 minutes, with extensions possible through feeding on corpses. This limited duration made werewolf form a tactical tool rather than a sustained state, something to be deployed strategically rather than maintained constantly. The cure, available in Skyrim, while similar in principle to Blood Moon's Rite of the Wolfgiver, proved simpler in execution. No innocent needed to die, just a Glenmoril witch who was herself a Hagraven and likely complicit in spreading the curse. The ritual at Wise Grammar's tomb using the flame of the Harbinger separated the wolf spirit and allowed its destruction, freeing the soul without requiring an additional victim. This more ethical cure process reflected Fourth Era moral philosophy's emphasis on minimizing harm even when addressing supernatural threats. The Dawnguard expansion introduced another cure method, becoming a vampire lord. Lord Harkon's ability to transform werewolves into vampire lords bypassed the lycanthropic immunity to normal diseases, replacing one curse with another. This demonstrated that supernatural conditions could override each other, with newer curses displacing older ones if applied with sufficient power. Some werewolves who wished to escape Hircine's claim but still wanted supernatural abilities chose this path, trading the hunter's grounds for whatever afterlife awaited vampires. Throughout all these variations across eras, certain constants remained. Werewolves always gained significant physical enhancements, always faced some form of bloodlust or required killing, always struggled with social integration, and always had their souls claimed by Hircine unless cured. These core elements defined lycanthropy regardless of when or where it manifested, suggesting fundamental aspects of Hircine's curse that transcend temporal and regional variations. Number. Chapter 12. The Path to Freedom. Methods and Costs of the Cure. For those werewolves who view their condition as a curse rather than a blessing, the question of how to achieve freedom from Hircine's grasp becomes paramount. Throughout Tamriel's history, various methods of curing lycanthropy have been discovered, each with its own requirements, risks, and costs. Understanding these methods reveals much about the nature of the curse and what it takes to break a Daedric prince's claim on a mortal soul. The simplest cure, available during the initial incubation period, involves ordinary disease-curing magic or potions. During the first 3 days after infection, before the curse fully integrates with the victim's spirit, standard healing methods can purge the disease completely. Temples throughout Tamriel offer blessing rituals that remove diseases, and alchemists sell cure disease potions that work just as effectively. This window of opportunity represents the infected individual's last chance for easy freedom. However, most people who contract lycanthropy through combat don't immediately realize they've been infected. The symptoms during incubation remain subtle, perhaps just the strange dream about the moon and a man who is less than a man. Without obvious signs like the fever and weakness that accompany many diseases, victims often don't seek treatment until after the 3-day window has closed. By then, the transformation has become permanent, and ordinary cures prove useless against a condition that has seeped into the spirit itself. Once lycanthropy becomes permanent, more extreme measures become necessary. The Glenmoril Witches guard the secret of the most reliable cure, though accessing this knowledge requires dealing with beings who serve Hircine and may have conflicting motivations about whether werewolves should be allowed to escape his grasp. The witches' willingness to provide cures seems to vary by coven and circumstance, with some actively helping cursed individuals, while others require death before their secrets can be claimed. In Blood Moon, the rite of the Wolf Giver represented the primary cure available to the Narration. This ritual, taught by Glenmoril Witches named Falaise and Isobel, who resided in the gloomy cave, required specific components gathered from dangerous locations. Wolfsbane petals had to be collected from Havitkald Peak, a treacherous mountain where the valuable plants grew. Ripened belladonna berries needed to be found near burial barrows or taken from Spriggans, nature spirits who defended their territory fiercely. After gathering these components and returning them to the witches, the ritual's final stages took place at an altar where a woman named Etienne waited with an innocent Nord captive. The process required the werewolf to sacrifice this innocent on the altar, harvesting her heart. The heart of the wolf, a manifestation of the curse itself, had to be removed from the werewolf and placed into the innocent victim's body. This transferred the lycanthropy entirely, transforming the innocent into a werewolf who the original cursed individual then had to kill. This gruesome ritual worked because it completely severed the spiritual connection between Hircine and the original werewolf, while satisfying the curse's need for a host. The innocent's death, tragic though it was, functioned as a sacrifice that balanced the supernatural equation. The original werewolf gained not just freedom from the curse, but permanent immunity to lycanthropy, ensuring they could never be reinfected. However, the moral cost of murdering an innocent to save oneself troubled many who underwent the rite. An alternative existed for those who discovered it. The Glenmoril Witches kept an emergency cure scroll hidden in their cave, inside a hollowed-out icicle hanging from the ceiling. This scroll offered a different path to freedom, though accessing it while the witches lived required stealth and careful timing. Some werewolves chose to simply kill the witches and take the scroll, avoiding the need to sacrifice an innocent but losing access to the witch's other knowledge and services. By Skyrim's 4th era, the cure process had evolved into something more straightforward, though still dangerous. The ritual required killing a Glenmoril witch and taking her head, a task complicated by the fact that these witches had transformed themselves into Hagravans. These creatures wielded powerful fire magic and fought with savage determination to protect themselves. A single witch's head proved sufficient to cure one individual, making the acquisition of multiple heads necessary if several werewolves sought freedom. The cure ritual itself took place at Wysgramma's tomb, where the flame of the Harbinger burned eternally in honor of the Companions' founder and the Harbingers who followed him. This sacred fire possessed the spiritual potency necessary to separate the wolf spirit from the human soul. When a witch's head was cast into the flames, it released magical energy that drew out the manifestation of the curse, creating a translucent wolf spirit that embodied all the bestial aspects of the infected individual. Defeating this wolf spirit in single combat proved essential to the cure's completion. The battle tested not just the werewolf's physical prowess, but their determination to be free of the curse. The spirit fought with all the abilities of a werewolf, attacking with supernatural strength and speed, but lacked physical substance that could properly defend against determined assault. Once destroyed, the wolf spirit dissipated, taking with it Hircine's claim on the individual's soul. The cleansed individual found themselves free of lycanthropy, but also stripped of all the abilities it granted. Their enhanced strength, speed, and disease immunity vanished along with the curse. For some, this loss of power proved acceptable, even welcome, as they valued spiritual freedom over physical might. For others, particularly those who had relied on werewolf abilities for survival or success in their profession, the sudden weakness felt devastating. The Skyrim cure offered one unique advantage. It could be reversed exactly once. Ayla the Huntress, being a werewolf herself and possessing knowledge of the blood ritual, could restore lycanthropy to someone who had been cured if they requested it. This allowed individuals to experience both states and make an informed decision about which they preferred. However, Ayla would only perform this restoration once per person, meaning a second cure would be permanent and final. The Dawnguard expansion introduced an entirely different approach, replacing lycanthropy with vampirism. Lord Harkon, the ancient vampire who ruled the Volkihar clan, possessed the ability to transform mortals into vampire lords, even if they were already werewolves. This process bypassed the normal immunity to diseases that lycanthropes enjoyed, using such powerful magic that it overwrote the existing supernatural condition entirely. Becoming a vampire lord cured lycanthropy instantly and completely. The werewolf transformation ability vanished, replaced by the ability to assume vampire lord form. The individual's soul, previously claimed by Hircine, now became subject to whatever fate awaited vampires after death. Whether this represented an improvement depended entirely on one's perspective. Some viewed vampirism as equally cursed, while others preferred it because vampire lords retained their intelligence and self-control regardless of form. This method of cure highlighted an important principle. Supernatural curses could override each other if applied with sufficient power. The werewolf's immunity to normal diseases proved irrelevant when faced with a transformation as profound as becoming a vampire lord. This suggested that other powerful magical transformations might also cure lycanthropy, though vampirism remained the only documented alternative that fully replaced the condition. The costs of curing lycanthropy extended beyond whatever sacrifices or deaths the ritual required. Cured werewolves lost access to werewolf-only locations like the Underforge beneath Jorrvaskr. They could no longer participate in certain activities or quests that required beast form. Most significantly, they lost the complete immunity to diseases that lycanthropy granted, becoming vulnerable once again to the various illnesses that plagued mortal races. For companions who cured themselves, relationships within the circle sometimes became strained. Ayla, in particular, viewed seeking a cure as a rejection of the gift she cherished. And while she respected individuals' choices, she clearly preferred those who embraced their beast blood. Other circle members, like Vilkas and Farkas, might choose to seek cures themselves, creating a division between those who valued spiritual freedom and those who valued lycanthropic power. The permanence of the cure, once fully enacted, meant the decision could not be easily reversed. Even with Ayla's one-time restoration option, individuals had to choose carefully whether they truly wanted to be free of the curse or whether they might later regret losing abilities they had grown accustomed to using. This finality gave the cure process appropriate weight, ensuring that those who sought freedom genuinely wanted it rather than acting on temporary frustration or pressure from others. Number conclusion? The eternal hunt continues. And so we reach the end of our journey through the bloody history and complex nature of Hircine's curse, the gift of lycanthropy that has shaped countless lives across the ages of Tamriel. We've traced the origins from Hircine's ancient meddling with the nature of wolves themselves, through the story of Vycosa the Ascendant and the First Turned, across the varied manifestations of the curse in different eras, and finally to the methods by which desperate individuals might break free from the hunter's grasp. What becomes clear through this exploration is that lycanthropy represents far more than a simple disease or supernatural affliction. It embodies fundamental questions about the nature of power and its price, about identity and transformation, about free will and spiritual destiny. Every werewolf must grapple with these questions, whether they embrace the beast or struggle against it, whether they view Hircine's gift as blessing or curse. The tragedy at the heart of lycanthropy lies in its theft of choice. Those infected accidentally never asked for this transformation, never consented to having their afterlife stolen, and their souls claimed by a Daedric prince they may never have worshipped. Even those who accepted lycanthropy voluntarily, like the Companion Circle members, often did so without fully understanding the spiritual implications. By the time they grasped what they had sacrificed, the curse had already taken hold. Yet for some, lycanthropy genuinely represents a blessing rather than a curse. Hunters who worship Hircine see their transformation as a gift from a divine patron, an elevation to a higher form of existence where they can pursue their passion eternally. Werewolves like Ayla the Huntress embrace their beast blood without reservation, viewing it as part of their identity and heritage. For these individuals, the thought of seeking a cure seems not just unnecessary but actively undesirable. This diversity of responses demonstrates that the meaning of lycanthropy ultimately depends on the individual experiencing it. What destroys one person's life enriches another's. What one views as spiritual theft, another sees as spiritual liberation. The curse adapts to countless contexts and finds acceptance or rejection based on personal values, cultural traditions, and individual circumstances. The evolution of lycanthropy across the eras of Tamriel reflects changing mortal understanding of the curse and developing methods of managing or combating it. From Daggerfall's savage werewolves forced to kill every 15 days, through Morrowind's Blood Moon curse requiring nightly killing, to Skyrim's more controlled transformations, the manifestation of lycanthropy has adapted while maintaining core elements. This suggests both flexibility in how Hircine's curse operates and consistent underlying principles that define what it means to be a werewolf regardless of time or place. The Glenmoril Wyrd stands as one of the most fascinating elements in the lycanthropy story, a group of Hircine worshippers who possess the knowledge to both spread and cure the curse. Their dual role creates complex moral dynamics, as they serve their patron while also holding the keys to freedom from his grasp. Whether they act with Hircine's blessing in teaching these cures or guard secrets he would rather see destroyed remains a mystery that different covens might answer differently. The figure of Kodlak Whitemane embodies the philosophical journey many werewolves undergo. He accepted the beast blood as part of his path to leadership within the Companions, believing it a necessary sacrifice. Only later, as he matured and contemplated his mortality, did he come to understand what he had truly lost, not just his humanity during transformations, but his spiritual destiny after death. His quest for a cure and his ultimate success in achieving it posthumously represents the possibility of redemption and freedom even for those who spent decades under the curse. The existence of cures, difficult and dangerous though they may be, provides hope for those who wish to escape Hircine's claim. The fact that a Daedric prince's grasp can be broken through mortal action demonstrates that even cosmic powers have limits. Hircine's curse is profound but not absolute, powerful but not inescapable. This balance between supernatural might and mortal agency creates space for individual choice and meaningful struggle. Looking forward, the curse of lycanthropy will undoubtedly continue to shape events across Tamriel. New werewolves will emerge, some blessed by Hircine, others infected by accident, still others choosing transformation through ritual. Packs will form and dissolve. Hunters will track lycanthropes through wilderness and city alike. The eternal cycle of predator and prey Transformation and cure, curse and blessing will continue as long as Hircine maintains interest in his children, and mortals seek power they cannot fully control. For those who carry the beast blood, the path forward remains deeply personal. Some will embrace their nature, hunting with glory in Hircine's name, and looking forward to eternal pursuit in the hunting grounds. Others will struggle against the curse, seeking cures and freedom from spiritual bondage. Most will exist somewhere between these extremes, neither fully accepting nor completely rejecting their lycanthropic nature, learning to manage the beast within while maintaining enough humanity to function in mortal society. The story of lycanthropy ultimately reflects universal human concerns about identity, transformation, and the prices we pay for power. When we become something other than what we were, do we remain ourselves? When we gain abilities that set us apart from normal society, what do we sacrifice in exchange? When supernatural forces claim ownership of our souls, can we break free through determination and action? These questions resonate beyond Tamriel, touching on real struggles with change, power, and autonomy that all people face. So the hunt continues, eternal and cyclical, with werewolves prowling the wilds and cities of Tamriel, while mortals develop new ways to fight or become them. Hircine watches from his hunting grounds, pleased by the sport whether his children triumph or fall. The Glenmoril Witches maintains their secrets, spreading curses and cures according to motivations only they fully understand. And individuals caught up in this cosmic drama make their choices, embracing or rejecting the beast, seeking power or freedom, ultimately determining through their actions what lycanthropy means for them personally. Thank you for joining me on this comprehensive exploration of Hircine's curse, the gift and burden of lycanthropy that has shaped Tamriel's history for millennia. Whether you view werewolves as blessed hunters or cursed monsters, whether you sympathize with their struggle or fear their savage nature, understanding their story provides crucial insight into the Elder Scrolls universe and the complex relationship between mortals and Daedric powers. If you enjoyed this deep dive into werewolf lore, please like and subscribe for more Elder Scrolls content. The world of Tamriel contains countless stories waiting to be explored, from the machinations of Daedric princes to the rise and fall of empires, from the secrets of ancient magic to the everyday struggles of common folk. There's always another tale to tell, another mystery to unravel, another aspect of this rich fictional universe to examine in depth. Until next time, fellow lore seeker, may your hunts be successful and your soul remain your own.